Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about translating literary. The first is the definition of literary translation. Literary translation can be defined as the process of translating works of literature, such as poetry, prose, drama, from one language into another, while maintaining the original work's meaning, tone, and style. For examples, we are going to translate a poem, for example, or poetry from English into Bahasa Indonesia. And the challenge is to maintain the original work's meaning, tone, and styles. And uh, what is the importance of translating literary works? The first is to preserve cultural heritage and promote cross-culture understanding. For examples, we translate Indonesian literary works like the story of Malin Kundang, for examples, into English to be taught to students of elementary school, for examples. So by learning Malin Kundang in English, students are expected not only to learn about English reading, but also learn about culture. And the second one is to provide access to global literature and ideas. Of course, the translated Malin Kundang into English will also be uh, given, sorry, will also be giving opportunity for students from other countries to study about Indonesian literature. And the third one is to enhance linguistic and literary skills. And the objective of the course are the first is to understand the fundamentals of literary translation, to learn about different translation techniques and strategies, and to develop skills to analyze and translate literary texts. Now let's talk about the types of literary works. The first is like poetry. It focuses on translating rhythm, meter, and figurative language. For example, translating a Shakespearean sonnet. And the second one is the prose, like novel or short stories. It emphasizes on narrative styles, character voice, and dialogue. For example, translating a chapter from a classic novel. Yeah. And a drama, the third one, uh, attention to spoken language, stage direction, and cultural context are focused. The examples is translating a scene from a contemporary play. Yeah. This is the example of Chang of Shakespeare sonnet. Yeah. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. You can take a look at here, guys, that this is Old English, yeah, Old English, and you will find different vocabularies which is not common, like though, yeah, and also buds of May, for examples. Yeah, this is offering challenges, of course, when we translate the poetry from English into Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, next we are going to talk about how to translate it using the types of varieties of translations here. But let's take a look at the example of poems here or poetry. For examples, I take it from a poem entitled The Man from Snowy River. This is a very popular uh, poem from Australia. There was movement at the station, for the word had passed around that the colt from Old Regret had got away, and had joined the Wheelbush horses. He has worth £1,000. So all the crags had gathered to the day fray. You can see here that there are some similar voice at the end of the sentences, characterizing the poems, yeah, and you might be having some difficulties in translating these poems, yeah. Yes, this is because this is literary works, yeah, that possess several characteristics which might be difficult, yeah, to translate. And compared to when we translate just academic writing or something like that, right? Um, Next, let's talk about challenge in literary translation. The first is, of course, cultural differences. The point is that we have to adapt the cultural references and idioms, like what we have seen in Shakespeare sonnet. Yeah, there are some idioms, sentences, phrases, or words which might be different from the common English that we are familiar with. Um, the specific examples is also translating culturally specific jokes or expressions. The jokes which is spoken by Mr. Bean, for example, when he made a speech, might not be funny, uh, captured by, for example, Indonesian people. Because why? Because the joke between two countries are different. The type of joke between Indonesia and the United Kingdoms, where Mr. Beans live or stays, is much different. Okay, so we need to sometimes translate culturally specific jokes or expressions. And the linguistic nuances, yeah, this is the second challenge. It means that we have to preserve the subletize and connotation of words. Connotation, metaphors, yeah. Examples translating word with multiple meaning or connotation. And the third challenge is maintaining original tone and styles. Uh, that is ensuring that the translated work reflect the original author's voice and style. And author's voice and styles is, of course, influenced by the culture where the authors live. The culture of Indonesian society, for example, might be different from the culture of other societies. Okay, and it brings about the differences in how the authors write the literary works. Um, Theories of translation. And the first is literal versus free translation. And literal it means word for word translation, staying as close to the source text as possible. And free translations, it emphasizes uh, emphasizes conveying the overall meaning rather than sticking to the exact words. And the second one is domestication and foreignizations. Foreignizations, yeah. Domestication is adapting the text to the target language, while foreignizations is retaining elements of the source culture. And the third one is equivalence, that is achieving functional equivalence between the source and the target text. For example, translating idiomatic expression that have no direct equivalent. And the next issue is the translation techniques. The first one is word for word translation. This is a direct translation of each word, maintaining the structure of the source text, and it is suitable for technical or literal text. The second one is sense for sense translation. This focuses on conveying the meaning rather than the exact words. It is suitable for literary and creative text. And the third one is adaptation. It means modifying the text to better fit the cultural and linguistic context of the target audience. For example, adapting a culturally specific reference to something more relatable for the target audience. I'd like to give you examples so that you are going to have a sense of each types of translation. We give you examples again of the Shakespeare sonnet. Yeah. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough wind do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Okay, when we do the literal translation, so word by word, haruskah aku membandingkanmu dengan hari musim panas? Engkau lebih indah dan lebih lembut, angin kencang menggoyang tunas kesayangan bulan Mei, dan sewa musim panas terlalu pendek. You can take a look at here, guys, that uh, when we do the word and word translation or literal translations, the voice, the meaning might not be the same. So, yeah, the feels. Okay. What about sense for sense translation? It might be better than word to word translation. Haruskah aku membandingkanmu dengan hari musim panas? Engkau lebih indah dan lebih sejuk, angin kencang menggoyangkan tunas bunga Mei, dan musim panas berlalu begitu cepat. Yes, we can feel actually, yeah, that it feels better than word and word translations. What about adaptation into Indonesians? Haruskah aku membandingkanmu dengan hari cerah? Engkau lebih indah dan lebih sejuk. Angin kencang menggoyangkan bunga-bunga Mei dan musim panas berlalu terlalu cepat. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's also much better than word and word translations. Yeah. So here it is, guys. Um, the better translations of, I mean, translating the literary works um, is using the sense for sense translation and adaptation translations, yeah, rather than literal translations, because once again, is that the literary works is bound to certain culture. Okay, it's related to culture where the works are created, like poetry, like drama, or something like that. Um, let's talk about analyzing literary text for translations. Okay, so it is important to understand the source text. Thorough reading and comprehension of the origin text is very important, as well as identifying the main themes, motif, and symbols. The second was literally analysis techniques. So we need to analyze the text structure, style, and language. For example, identifying literary devices such as metaphors, similes, yeah, and allusions, and identifying key themes and symbols, recognizing and preserving the central themes and symbol in the translation. For example, translating a recurring motif in a novel. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.